Patricia's here,
Yes.
and we'll just wait for a few more minutes. I know I was just telling you it's Saturday evening, and there's a lot of things going on, and people, it's tough to get people's time in a day like this. And
It
I,
can be. And we've also it's been a long time since we had a meeting, so it's not something that's I think been in people's mind as a regular event. I'm hoping we can get this started again.
yeah,
And
I mean, I'm fine. I mean, even
yeah.
if there's only two people in the meeting, Jeffrey, I'm I'm okay.
Okay, very good.
You're a teacher, so you know, right? In some classes, you'll have a full house. Some classes,
That's
you're
right.
not going to have a full house.
Exactly, exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly correct. And same with our Vedanta meetings. We typically around anywhere from seven to a dozen people. And when we have them in person, we have hybrid. We have a few more people because people come in person. I think we want to get that restarted as well. It's just been very difficult with our schedules.
I
Uh,
saw that. I mean, you have a lot of things going on, right?
there's a lot. There's a lot. So I'm grateful to you for you're the first person to say, "Well, I'll run a meeting," and so that's great, and I'm excited about it. And you had been sharing some of these ideas with me by email for a while, and so I thought, well, this is a
Yeah, I
nice
know. And,
venue for
this is,
this.
of course, some new territory. But before I mean, what's the usual protocol? Your Vedanta Society runs it in a certain way, and I want to be cognizant of that and respectful of that. So, should we wait for a couple more minutes if somebody else joins in, and then we can start usually with a prayer, right?
Yes, that's a good way to, and if you would like to lead that, you can, or if you would rather I did
Or
it.
actually, I want to follow whatever you follow as a protocol because I'm sort of a
Okay,
newcomer here.
sure,
So let's
sure,
give it
sure.
like a minute or so. And then let's start because, like you said, it's a brand new meeting, and you're saying that a number of the people may not be even be aware that we're having a satsang, right? So yeah,
Right. Well,
we did send a reminder, and Patricia, that probably helped
I'm sorry.
the reminder.
Oh, yes. Well, no, not for me really. I mean, it's great, but I always am so excited to get together because it's like I say, it's kind of a desert here in terms of Vedanta societies and whatnot. So I've always liked to be a part of it. So
Very nice.
Yeah,
So
Patricia is one of our most faithful attendees to these meetings. She's always here, and thanks to her, this is an international Vedanta society because she's on the Canada side, and so
she's in
it's
Vancouver Island. She was saying that must be a fabulous place to be there,
it's very
Patricia.
nice. Yeah,
Huh?
it's
it's where Swami Vivekananda first landed in North America. It was
Is that
actually
right?
Vancouver. Yeah,
I thought Chicago.
No, he took the Pacific route, and he went to Japan. He was in Japan very briefly, a few days, and then got on another boat and came to Vancouver, and then yes, from Vancouver to Chicago. So Chicago was where he came into to the U.S. But North America, yeah, he was in Vancouver. He was in Canada before entering the U.S. And so your area has that distinction,
Well,
Patricia.
and I like to brag because he actually had to stop in Victoria where I am because they had to check the ship for disease. So he
Yes.
actually stopped across the bridge here and then he actually disembarked in Vancouver. But I always like to brag that he was actually in
Yes.
Victoria.
It's actually in Victoria, and some of that energy must still be there because you're there thriving in that environment, and you're looking good. I know you had some health issues earlier, and
I feel really good.
that
Yeah.
has all passed now. Then that's what's wonderful, wonderful.
Back on track. So yeah, it's quite often if I'm down in the ocean there, I just imagine him going by on the ship.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no, no.
Oh, here's some more. I mean, yeah.
Let's see. We have
No, actually, I invited my son to the meeting. He's not necessarily totally interested in this, but this is this is it's a sweet spot. I was telling Patricia, it's between nap time, 3:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. is when the 49ers kick off with the Seattle, what is the name? I forgot. But anyway, I'm not a big football fan, but today is supposed to be a big game in terms of NFL and playoffs. Because 49ers, of course, I live in California, so that's our native team. and that's a big game with the Seahawks in Seattle. So anyway, I was just saying, I was just telling you. I mean, of course, we are not necessarily big watchers of the games or anything like that, but
Yeah.
that's at 6 o'clock. So I mean 5 o'clock. So there's still, I mean, in my time, so it's plenty of
Yeah.
time. 8 o'clock your time. So anyway,
Yeah.
we are coming up with 3:41.
Yeah.
Maybe what is it? 3:43 actually. So
Yeah.
Jeffrey, do you want to start with the prayer?
Certainly. Okay, so we could begin with a prayer and just ask everyone to take a deep breath. Let's all center ourselves. Let's feel gratitude for this moment and that we're able to gather in this way across many, many miles. And let's recite either aloud, if you like, or silently, the ancient Vedic prayer. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. And I think everyone here knows our speaker today, Sundar, who is really, I'm very, very grateful to you, Sundar, for really stepping up and you know helping make it possible for this for us to have more regular meetings because I would not have had the ability this month to pull anything together, but you have now done it, and so we'll have something. I don't have you begun recording the meeting?
Yeah. So,
The recording. Okay,
Jeffrey,
very
thanks
good.
for the hint. So, like I was mentioning to Patricia, the new version also prompts me about some AI companion and all. I sort of ignored it, but I did. Let me see. I think where is the place to check whether the recording. So, yeah, it's going on. It says stop recording if you want to stop it, but it's been going on. So, what
Good.
I'll do is when it is fully recorded, instead of sending the whole thing over, I'll probably edit it to where it should really start
Yes.
because we were chatting about other stuff and
Yes.
then we can get going.
That's
Okay?
good. Then we can ensure that because there are always a few people who would like to attend but have some conflict. So I get a lot of notes from people appreciating the recordings being sent. So you probably have a larger audience for this than just those of
No,
us
no,
who.
I'm definitely, I'm really grateful for the opportunity, Jeffrey. And in terms of my presence here, Patricia and Jeffrey, you both, of course, Jeffrey and I've been what we call pen friends, right? Writing
Yes.
emails for the last few years. But Patricia is new, and we all have different backgrounds. And one thing I appreciated, Jeffrey, but the way I think I sort of came across Jeffrey was that little video about how I came to Vedanta, right? Is that how it is? Yeah.
Right, right. That was part of the question and answer session after one of the talks at the New York Center, and they put it as its own separate
No, it was brilliant. You know why it's brilliant is that analogy of you saying that the Bhagavad Gita is like what is that, alien manual or alien?
Yeah, that finding it was like being extraterrestrial raised among humans and fighting an artifact from your home planet. That
Yo, I tell you, it's
finally
so
said
brilliant. You know
something
why it's
connected to.
brilliant is because, I'm not a big Star Wars buff, but I am a techie. So, and I relate to that. But more important, it shows it's a totally different perspective. You heard of the East Coast, the famous American philosophers, the one who lived off the island in a like reclusive and all that. And those are all, talk about Bhagavad Gita, but in a different vein. Whereas
Mhm.
the one you is much more modern and
Mhm.
relatable. We are basically saying it's not like from the ancient, it's actually more advanced, it's in the future.
Yes, yes, precisely.
That's
Precisely.
the one that really struck me, and I used it a few times in my, as a reference. But
Mhm.
anyway, so I come from a totally different background, but we'll get to that. I don't want to spend my time here in autobiography more. But the last few talks, I gave a couple of talks, Jeffrey. I went to India in end of November, and I gave a talk at the Advaita Academy called Indica in Bangalore. It's a
Mhm.
big forum. It's 86,000 subscribers. But again, the attendance of the speech itself is not very much. But the talk was on Tesla as a metaphor for dhyana, meditation. Very
Mhm.
unusual because, like I joke that every get together is good. I just came up with get together for Pongal in, just a couple hours ago. And I joke that the parking lot is like a advertisement for, it's a showroom for Tesla. Basically, every other car is Tesla. But nobody wants to talk Tesla. And more important, nobody wants to even mention Elon Musk because of all the politics, right?
Politics, yeah.
But the Tesla as a metaphor for dhyana, it's really stuck with me from about around Guru Purnima, right, in the middle of August. And there is a reason for that, and I'll come to that later. But I sort of brushed aside all those criticism and all. That's not very material to me because there are other things. But I come from a different background. We'll go to that much later. But right now, the talk is basically, let me bring up the slides and we'll drive it through the slides if it's okay with you.
Perfect. Yeah. And you can share your screen and we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm going to do is I brought up the slides. So I need to then just figure out how to share now. Yeah, here it is. Go to Zoom and then share, right? Share the screen. Yeah. And then it's got a little bit of audio as well. Let me go. One participant can share at a time. Share. Okay, good. Share this. I guess I can share the screen too. That's probably better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's sharing.
It's good, right? So basically, so the way, yeah. So basically, this is the I've built a whole slide deck, and you see in the very bottom of it is the logo, and that's something which I discovered about a month ago or 2 months ago. It's a Google product called Notebook LM, and by the way, that deserves the talk by itself. So this this talk is of course about meditation and Vedanta, but I sort of mentioned in my meetings on talks that it's like the Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance. I have a little autobiographical piece, like the Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance had this guy, the two guys, the dad and son, driving across the US in a motorbike and talking about philosophy. So I have a autobiographical piece. I also have a technology piece, which is the Notebook LM you see. The whole set was generated by, by that kind of tool. And of course, we have the philosophy piece. So I got all those three. So this talk is about, it starts off with this question: what do Arjuna and Harari is the famous historian, Israeli historian, world famous, and some people rate his book as the very best book they've ever read. It's called *Sapiens*. It's a sort of a history told in a different way. Okay, and on the first glance, of course, nothing. Arjuna is from 3,000 years ago, whatever. Harari is very contemporary, and he's in the AI world and is a well-regarded and new historian, right? So, but that's where I'm throwing up like a curveball so that it catches people's attention, right? What do Arjuna and Yuval Harari share? Nothing at first glance, right? So here's the background. Warrior from 3000 BC and Yuval Harari. In case, I'm sure both of you are familiar, but it's worth sort of digging into Yuval Noah Harari because his *Sapiens* is a real masterpiece. So what's common? The funny thing that is common is both of them confess to being having a little bit of difficulty with meditation, right? I mean, Arjuna, we know the famous thing from the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita where he tells Krishna that the mind is more difficult than controlling the wind. And then Harari, you'll see it in a minute, where he talks about it. So this is Krishna, Arjuna, very famous verse. Sancharam hi mana Krishna, Brahmadi Balavadridam. Those terms are from the denoted what verse it is. I don't want to go over that, but it talks about 4 things. Right? Sanchalam means restlessness. Pramati means churning. Very powerful is Balavat, and Dridam means obstinate. So this is a often quoted verse from Bhagavad Gita where Arjuna listens to Krishna's famous dialogue. And the 6th chapter is all about meditation, right? He listens to Krishna rave about meditation, for like 30 verses, and then at the end of it, he asked this question. Yeah, all you say is fantastic, but I don't see it happening for me because it's too tough for me. It's more difficult than controlling the wind. So I think the verse goes like Sancharam hi mana Krishna, Pramati Balavadridam, and then there's more to it. Okay. But again, I put the reference there so anybody can look it up, right? So now, then we come to
the presentation better than the one in India.
Yeah. So okay. So this is I mean, this is a simple example of what meditation looks like. The instructions are simple: sit down and observe your breath, turn inward. But then you have thousand thoughts popping up all over, and the mind gets into a party mode, right? And then it's very hard for somebody to be, getting into stillness, right? So it's sort of a very dramatic graphic, but there it is, right? The world of AI can generate it for you. So, okay, here is where we saw about Arjuna, but here is the counterpart, the opposite side, so to speak, Harari. So Harari actually, I don't know how many are familiar with he gave a small interview. It's a very short interview with 60 minutes of all places in prime time when Anderson Cooper interviews him for lots of other things, but in the middle of it somewhere, Anderson asked him about his meditation for some reason, and then Harari launches into a nice session. So I'm going to. So he says my intellectual training didn't help. He was a PhD from Oxford, world class historian, and so I'm going to play that a little bit. It's only the whole that segment of the interview is only 1 minute, by the way, but it's phenomenal because it has so much content that I mapped what he said to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. But I'll bring it up once again. I'll bring this up. So let me.
Every day. Yes, I start my day when I wake up in the morning. So the first thing I do, I meditate for an hour, and then sometime a full hour, and then sometime in the afternoon, I'll meditate another. And
are you able to hear Patricia and Jeffrey?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, good.
I can hear fine. This is great.
What is meditation done? Why is it worth 2 hours a day?
on one level is to get in touch with reality. The mind constantly produces these stories about myself, about society, about the world, and they constantly come between me and reality. And meditation is about learning how to let go of these stories and just see what is actually happening. And it starts with the simplest things, like you start by observing your breath coming in and out of your nostrils. And it's an incredibly difficult thing to do. I remember I went to
just focus on that.
Yeah, I was doing my PhD at Oxford. I thought I really was a very intelligent person and that I'm in control of my mind, that I know myself. And I saw I don't have even this basic ability to observe like the simplest thing in the world, which is my breath, without my mind wandering away to some fantasy. So what chance do I have to really get to know the deep sources of my psychological structures, or to understand the economic system or the political system, if I can't observe the reality of my own breath?
So really, that's it. I mean, but you can see that little 1 minute segment pretty much crystallizes the whole talk I have, because Arjuna, okay, 3,000 years ago, is a great warrior. He said it's tough to meditate. Okay, whatever. I mean, that was a long time ago. But somebody contemporary of us, whom you can touch and speak, is articulating in a brilliant way the same concern that even though you may be intellectually, great and highly functioning, and all that, you still find meditation hard, right? And I will get to the autobiography part in a little while. But where it actually started from home for me was my wife is brilliant at organizing. She's a lot more efficient than me. She is multitasking and get things done. But I think it was a few months ago when she said, for the life of me, I can't sit down and meditate. And then that struck me because she has got discipline, she's organized, she's very good. See, in my case, I'm disorganized. I've done lots of crazy stuff. I'm not a lot of discipline. But for whatever reasons, when I sit down for meditation, it's not hard. And that's what struck me. I mean, that started my analysis. And I was thinking, what's the reason for it? And you'll see that sort of slowly developing. All these Tesla metaphor and all will come into play later on. But I'm just giving a little autobiographical piece. And here it is. You see the same thing, like my wife. Like Arjuna, Yuval Harari is saying that is hard for him. And it goes against the grain. Somebody like him should not have difficulty. He's brilliant analytical mind, and you should be able to control the mind, right? Okay, good. So that's the crux I want to, or the postulate I want to present. Now, when I talk about meditation, right? I sort of made this slide. Meditation is not equal to meditation, right? It's a little like a little what do you call it? In the world of Instagram and Facebook, they call it the hook, right? The meditation is not meditation. What the heck do you mean? I mean, are you playing a game with me or what? No, it is. There is a reason. The secular meditation on the left, which is brilliant. I love all this. My wife does the art of living. There is a transcendental meditation. There is mindfulness. There is calm apps. There are apps called calm apps, which you can download for free and you can use them. They produce the sound and they're brilliant. And also walking and all those, right? That's on the left. Now, I'm not talking about meditation. When I talk about meditation, I mean, the way, especially Jeffrey, when we are doing it in the Vedanta society, we are not focusing on mindfulness. I mean, they may be there, but the focus really is the spiritual meditation, which is in the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. And the sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which, by the way, is the chapter called Dhyana Yoga, is completely meditation centric. And so is the bulk of the Upanishads, right? So that's what I mean. So even though they have the same name, they are not. And it's a very important distinction. It's not that I'm trying to put it down or anything, but the goal of secular meditation is health and stress relief. The goal of spiritual transformation is something else, right? So that's why I want to bring it up. That's a very important differentiator, right? We need to get that in our head before we move forward, right? And so that I want to put it out there. Now, okay, we saw convincingly that people with extremely functional abilities, well organized, analytical, and so on, like Harari, still find it difficult and hard. Why is that? So this is where the diagnosis comes in, and this is I think if we go away with understanding this, I think to the large extent, you won't beat yourself up when your meditation is not good, because what this verse actually says, I'll actually chant it. Paranchikani Vyatunat Swayambhu Tasmat Paran Pashyati Na Antaratman. That's the first part of the mantra. The second will come to. So that Paranchikani means the whatever reason the whole our internal system is programmed to look outside. So, but the Upanishads use a pretty graphic kind of a way of describing. It says the self-existent Lord, Swayambhu, the Lord, Ishvara, Narayana, whatever you want to call it, he actually maimed the senses. Maimed the senses means he pierced it. So they are outward. So it's really like a brutal way of explaining, saying that, look, it was supposed to be sealed, but he actually punched it so that it's like flowing out, which is a graphic and, way of describing that the self-existent Lord is, pierced it so everything goes out. So therefore, one look outward, not within. Paranchikani, Vitunat Swayambhu, Tasmat Paran Pashyati. Paran Pashyati means Paran means outside. Pashyati means looks outside. Na Antaratman. Na means not. Antaratman means the inside self, right? So what it is like what they say in Las Vegas. Yeah, the system is against you. Basically, it's you can't blame yourself because it's the nature of you're programmed to do this. Your default setting, right? So why it's very important is people talk about meditation, this, that, and difficult and all. Unless you get the fundamental, the philosophical, the psychological nature of it firmly ingrained, I think you'll be fighting a losing battle all the time, because you don't unless you understand that there is a default setting in your system to make you do things, look outside, and so you're fighting the current. You're swimming upstream, right? So that's the philosophical basis, right? So and of course, I will hang on one second. Yeah. So this one is from the video we saw, where basically what happens is with the mind is you become the scenery, meaning even though you are the seer, by being associated with thought, like anxious thoughts or depressive thoughts and all those things, you identify with those and you become the scenery. there's a little segment in that video where Yuval Harari talks about it. So that's why I mapped it to the Yoga Sutras. We become the scenery, we become the thinker. Vritti Swarupayam is a Yoga Sutras, but that's just the context that you actually get involved and you become the scenery, not being the seer. Now, the distinction between concentration and meditation, everybody can concentrate, right? I mean, you're watching a football game, 49ers, your favorite team, and playing against Seahawks, you're going to be gripped. And I know, of course, Jeffrey and Patricia are aware of it. Anything that involves your livelihood, I mean, nobody is asking you to concentrate or anything like that because you will do it automatically. You'll just do it as when your livelihood is dependent on something, you're going to do it like, with nobody asking. So you can easily do that. But jhana, meditation, involves withdrawal, pratyahara, which is, of course, the fourth step after, yama, niyama, and all that. So it involves the reversal of the flow. It's basically asking you to do something which you are not used to. And this is where our famous Swami Bhajananda comes in. He wrote a series of articles on concentration versus meditation, long time ago, 1980s. But it's interesting, Jeffrey, that I go back to that. I go back to that because it's just, I don't know, I would say like maybe 8, 10 pages, or maybe a little bit more of the two articles or the two parts. But it's so much depth in it. When you go back, you still don't think you've understood it. It's amazingly well written. It's so deep, Swami Bhajananda. He was apparently an editor for a magazine called Prabhupada. I don't know whether I'm saying it right. Prabhupada something.
Prabhupada Bharata.
Right. And then, but maybe in his spare time he wrote, or I don't know how he did it, but that I will put the reference to it. But his take on this is very, very interesting. You'll come to it in a second. So he gives the analogy of Sri Ramakrishna, right? That the police lantern, right? The police lantern is used to reveal the thief, the person doing the deed. But the holder cannot see themselves, the light. So the analogy they are giving is to see the self, the lantern must be turned around. The lantern is a great thing for looking at the outside world, but you have to turn it around, right? And yeah, this is a crucial sentence Swami Bhajananda makes, is that the meditation is not like driving the mind inward like a shepherd drives sheep. No, you can't do that. You can't use forcible force to do that. And of course, the reason is because you're using rajas, the active force. The reality is a meditation is a fruit of sattva developing, not an action. So before we, before actually, let me skip to, there was a place I explained, you see, maybe not. Okay, let me, he uses a term, Swami Bhajananda, called pratyak pravana, wow, that means the meditation is a conscious flow inward toward the seer, not an outward thing. And he uses the term, and of course it's in that article, you can see he beautifully explains it. It uses the terms which is pratyak pranavava, which means internal turn, and it's from the Yoga Sutras. And he says, unless that develops, whatever you are trying to do by trying to sit down half an hour and like force yourself to meditate, it's really not going to happen. It's going to happen only when that sort of sets in, and we'll see how it sets in. Okay. So here is so I come from a different background. Like I said, I come from some of the guidance from the Jagat Guru of Sringeri. Sringeri is one of the Shankara's 4 established pitas. And one of the Jagat Gurus of Sringeri, the Shankaracharya, was a great exponent of meditation. And he gives an interesting, when a disciple comes and asks about the unruly mind, just like Arjuna did, he gives a little thought experiment. He says, if I give you a whole waft of 100 rupee notes, of course, this was in 1970, so now you have to translate to maybe 500 rupee notes or a bigger currency, and that's all of that money is your salary, and you say you cannot, my mind is not controllable and all. What will be your reaction when somebody asks to count, and with the condition that no, you shouldn't have any error because it's your livelihood or money, right? And then when when the person is asked to do that and come back and report whether your mind was wandering, of course they're going to say, no, mind didn't wander at all, right? I mean, so basically, when it's so what was his way of explaining it was when the value is not perceived, that when meditation is not that as valuable to you as the wrapped up 100 rupees or 1,000, I don't know, 1,000 rupees notes is illegal, but 500, right? 500 rupee notes you're given, and that's your salary, and you're asked to count that. Then, because you see that a highly perceived value, yeah, you're completely focused, right? So, what you're saying is the issue is not so much that you don't have the concentration, that you don't perceive the value in the path of meditation or in meditation by itself. So once you realize that losing time or losing efficiency during meditation is a loss of value, then you will actually easily focus. So that was his. So basically, that's the thing. I mean, well, let me see, drag this down because it's not clear. If you value the silence as much as the salary, the mind will follow. So it may look like a simple experiment, but it's very effective because that's really the crux of it. Unless we perceive the value in meditation, it's not going to happen. It's whatever you may do. So now, what's happened here? Okay, so let me go back. Yeah, that's good. So now we come to the sort of the autobiographical part. So as I mentioned briefly, during Guru Purnima, came up with this metaphor. It sort of dawned on me that the metaphor for meditation is actually a self-driving Tesla with lifetimes. Look at the plural I'm using. Lifetimes of charging is equivalent to the spiritual journey of a dhyana yogi. Okay, so this obviously needs explanation because, I mean, nobody equates a car with a meditation. What are you trying to say? Are you saying that you have to sit in a car to meditate, or what the heck is this? So now you can see some connections, right? So, like I mentioned, that several decades ago, I was fortunate to be associated with a disciple of the Sringeri Acharya, who was a great, turned out to be, we found later, a great yogi. He was 4 years my senior. He was a PhD candidate. And I was nicknamed Quantum. I was, like an agnostic or an atheist. I didn't have any liking for any kind of spiritual or Vedanta. And in fact, I had no clue. And I really didn't like people wearing vibhuti and all those markings of a religious person, for whatever reasons, right? But this one person was exactly like he used to wear white and white, come in a motorbike. He was wearing vibhuti, and I used to mock him. And then, the long story short is he answered every one of my objections just with logic, no resorting to any religion or scriptures. And at the same time, being associated with him, he sort of passed on his love for me. He was a great yogi. Acharya used to say that he was like a Siddha Purusha. And, we came to know that he could drop into Samadhi at will, just like Swami Vivekananda, right? So while Arjuna and Yuval Harari are complaining they can't get into meditation, my gurus, I don't want to say his name, I'll explain why, would never, ever complained of. In fact, the opposite. He used to have problems coming out of meditation and Samadhi into do his normal work. So whatever was imparted 40 years ago, that was the one that struck me when I talked with my wife as to why she's so organized and she's finding difficulty. But I'm so disorganized. I'm goof up on so many things. And still, when I sit down, I'm able to meditate is because the charging was important. So my contention is there was some sort of charging that happened a long time ago, completely, what do you call, unearned, so to speak. And then it persisted on. I was not regular. I was up and down. I left it practice for many years. I did all sorts of goofy things, but it stayed out. And then the other part of the equation, so the lifetime of charging comes from that. The other part of the equation is in spiritual life, when you're progressing, you cannot do it unless there is a direction that is set internally for you in your DNA. You can correct through the guru or your own or whatever. So that's why I'm saying that the FSD, the full self-driving of Tesla, is like a DNA, like a goal that is implanted in you. In my case, through my mentor, or in the stories of people like Swami Vivekananda, through Ramakrishna, you see that, right? It's implanted by the guru and it drives. And what is even more fascinating is why this knowledge stuck with me is because Krishna, in the Arjuna dialogue, after listening to all this, and after Arjuna convinces, no, you can still meditate. You have to, practice and all that abhyasa and vairagya and all that. Arjuna reluctantly says, "Okay, I'll do that." But what happens if I do all this in this? But my time in this life is not enough, and I don't achieve the goal. What is going to happen to me? Am I going to lose my spiritual side as well as the material side? And of course, Krishna gives a superb pep talk and says, no, you don't lose anything on the spiritual effort you put in. And in the next birth, and this is the crucial thing, he says, in spite of yourself, you will march along. That is crazy, because if you think about it, that's almost like the autonomous nature of Tesla, meaning once the direction is set, even if you do goofy things like instead of going to your work, you go to some casino and then you have to charge your car. The lifetime charging allows you to charge it, and then you keep going on. But in spite of oneself, that's the crazy part. I mean, that's not the crazy, but that's a very unique thing in that verse that Krishna says is in the next birth. He says, not only will you continue, but in spite of yourself, you will continue. So that's like thumping the table and saying that the autonomous nature, the FSD, and the lifetime charging is all, like given to you as a package. That's where the Tesla comes in. Of course, Tesla, everybody hates, I know that. And Elon Musk, nobody likes, I know that. But these two things come for me is a standout reason for explaining Tesla. Of course, next year, if Ford comes up with the same thing, of course, I can use Ford. But right now, nobody else has it. Okay, that's why I went with Tesla. So that's the reason for the metaphor. And then, so in this case, the pushing the car effort to charging the battery is the readiness that gives you the ability to go forward, right? So that's right. So these are, this is the thing that what's his name? Harari said, I meditate every day. He said for an hour in the morning, hour in the evening. It's beautiful because that's Yoga Sutra straight away. Dhīra Kala for a long time, right? Uninterrupted consistency. He does every day. That's consistency. 2 hours is Dhīra Kala. Satkala with attitude, reverence. And what is funny is in a 60 minutes talk, in prime time American audience is watching, this Yoga Sutra fits in like a glove. It's unbelievable that this guy, Harari, I'm pretty sure he's not even aware of what is Yoga Sutra, but he says those things. He says, I meditate. When Anderson Cooper asked, what is meditation for you? I meditate for 2 hours, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. And, and obviously the other two come into play because he's been doing it for a long time. And of course, with sincerity, right? So even though it may be a casual chat on meditation, what I want to show here is the Yoga Sutras are an invisible thread, meaning even though you may not know it, Yoga Sutra still applies to any kind of meditation. And by the way, if you're curious, Harari is not our traditional Vedantic kind of meditation. He, I think, was initiated by Goenka in Vipassana. And it's not in this particular talk, but elsewhere I found out that he is a Goenka follower, like basically Goenka and Vipassana is a Buddhist meditation, right? Not Vedantic or Yoga Sutra related. But it's funny that even in that case, the Yoga Sutra fits in like a glove and comes into play. So anyway, so that's the second part of the verse that I quoted from the Upanishad, Paranchikani Vitranat Swayambhu, Tasmat Paran Pashyati Antaratman, Kaschit Dhīra Pratyagatmanam Aikshar, Avrutta Chakshus Amurdatvam Ichhan. So Avrutta Chakshus means turning the eye around, or basically your mind around. Who does it? The Dhīra, meaning somebody who is courageous. Why they're doing it is this is where we get into you have to have the goal clearly implanted. Otherwise, you are not going to drive for that long time. Amritatvam being you have to have a notion of what is eternal, and that is the one that drives you. Amritatvam Ichhan means desires. So that is never going to come from attending gym classes are downloading calm apps. No, no way in hell. This is the part that comes from a Vedantic teacher, and it's sort of built into you or baked into your DNA, even though you may not know what is the eternity or what is the final goal and all that. That I think is the one that drives you forward. You can't be doing for a long time any kind of sadhana, right, Jeffrey and Patricia, unless the motivation is ingrained or baked into you, right? So Amurtatvam Icchan, who does that? Dhīra, the courageous one. And what are they doing? Turning the eye around. Doesn't mean the physical eye here. Avrutta Chakshu means it's turning the mind inward, right? So, okay, so this is just a um, recap of what we have been doing. Okay, the goal is not to see the word more clearly, but the goal is to see Seer. This is just a summary slide. And Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. It's 4:18. I think we're a little bit early, but that's the gist of my talk.
Well, that was fabulous, Sundar. I'm so grateful to you for putting this together. I think we can open it for discussion. We're a very small group, but we could spend a little time with doing some satsang and reflecting on what you've shared. Patricia, do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share? Questions, thoughts?
Well, actually, I was going to ask you, Jeff, because you do teach meditation, don't you, at the
Very very basic meditation. I do. It's not a formal course. It's voluntary, and once a month, the students come, and faculty and staff are invited too, but very few of them show up. But it's mostly students, and so I mean I find what you've said very very helpful, Sundar. I think I'm probably going to incorporate some of it into when I give students meditation instruction, and I give them some techniques for helping calm the mind, keeping it's almost like you have to trick yourself sometimes into
Right.
this state, right? Because unless you've reached that very elevated point that your guru reached, that Sri Ramakrishna reached, of just spontaneously going into meditation and even having a hard time coming out, most people are not at that point.
No,
And
absolutely. No, no. I didn't want to say it in a way of boasting or anything, but it's the reality that you still have to disclose that because, see, the reason why, Vivekananda came out to the world is to preach about his guru because, you know, he was so great, right? And the world
yes.
wouldn't have known unless Vivekananda came out. So, no, no, I'm definitely not saying in a sense of pride or something, but it's a fact. The
Yeah.
fact is that in some cases, I think Sri Ravi Shankar uses the word unearned grace or whatever. It so happens, but I have to reveal it. And but there is a philosophy behind. In fact, this talk, Jeffrey, there is other it all leads on to other things where I use the Upanishads to sort of close the loop on the Tesla analogy and explain a lot more. But one thing I want to mention, just good you brought it up, is this talk and is not about giving any technique. It's not about
Right.
it's the philosophy behind it. That's all. Right now, later on, we can probably explore other techniques in the other sessions. Yeah.
Right. No, I was just answering Patricia's question about,
Yes.
when I do the instruction, but what I find, and I really find your talk very encouraging because as you talked to me by email a few times about this sort of self-driving the image of the self-driving car, I wasn't quite it wasn't quite connecting in my mind what you meant, but today I understood it. And it's actually a very encouraging message because it means and maybe this is a term they use more in the Zen tradition, that there comes a time when we get into that flow of the meditation and it just kind of takes off by itself. And it really
Yes.
does.
Absolutely.
And it's the irony, and you can see why so many sages use paradox when they teach. We're trying to control the mind, we're trying to control the mind, we're trying to control the mind, and yet it works when we actually stop, in a sense, trying. Uh,
Right.
you have to kind of let go and just give your mind over to the process,
Yes.
and the process takes over. And I find that fascinating because, and you use this interesting expression, it's in our DNA. Like I have wondered if we really have some kind of an instinct for meditation because um I know for my case now, I don't know how many of us are like this, but um, if I'm experiencing something particularly stressful in the world or problematic, I want to meditate. I mean, I feel pulled into meditation. Right? It's almost I wouldn't say it's involuntary, but it's almost involuntary, right? You just want to sort of let go and go into that space. And yes, something takes over, and it's really, and I like that what you mentioned, Shishi Rava Shankar mentioned that the unearned grace, it just um, it it it's as if you're doing by not doing,
Yeah,
uh, so to speak. And I think that reminds me of that verse in the Gita. It's in I think the third chapter where it says, "The wise person is one who sees action in inaction and
right.
inaction in action." You know, and it's sort of it's. I think it's about meditation. That
It's a paradoxical statement, right?
Yes, and it is a paradoxical statement that that it requires effort in terms of setting aside the time, sitting down. I found it really interesting that Harari also meditates morning and evening because that's our Vedanta tradition as well. And so there is the effort of making the time, sitting down, saying yes, and you pointed this out too, showing ourselves that it is worthwhile, it's worth doing. And then, but once we do that, then it's a matter of letting go and really of not doing, doing by not doing. I just, I, and it's something else just takes over, as you said. We become self-driving cars. I like that. I like that very much.
Thank you very much. Because, as I said, of course, the person and the car takes a lot of heat because of the connotation. But that does not stop me from using that because I see a point of why it should be, talked about. And by the way, the other thing I want to mention is I go into in other talks or I got articles is there is a distinction between the secular and the spiritual. There's a bridge. It's almost like it's not mentioned clearly or it's not mentioned in the scriptures, but it's almost like a secret that to go from pratyahara to dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, the deeper ones, is not going to happen by your own effort. That's where the grace part comes in. And Swami Bhajananda talks about it. He
Yes.
says that unless the mind, the pratyak pranava, which means that the flow inward happens, you're not going to be able to meditate successfully. And he says that happens, interestingly enough, through prayer
Mm.
and the typical Vedantic and religious means, like through all those kind of things, spiritual association, satsang, all that. So that's an important point.
Well, do you what is the difference between is it samadhi and nirvikalpi samadhi within meditation?
No, basically the way it works, Patricia, is you have dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Okay. Dharana is like holding on to something. Dhyana is flow, like an oil from a vessel, like flows. Samadhi is basically when you lose yourself, and there is so many different way samadhis. My guru used to explain that the bliss or the the happiness or the aspect of samadhi is so mind blowing that when you come out of samadhi to do an activity, you'll feel like it's torture. The most pleasant activity in the world, you imagine, he says it's like torture. If you remember from Vivekananda, Ramakrishna had to drive him out, right? He wanted to sit in samadhi. He didn't want to go out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He just wanted to be, yeah. The same thing with my guru. He was saying that any time you want to come out of samadhi and do activity, it's like torture. That's just the subject samadhi, which is the lower samadhi. I don't want to get into all detail. The higher level, nirvikalpa samadhi, where you are actually sort of one with the supreme when you are in samadhi, like you completely lose yourself. It's you can't describe it. So Krishna uses the term in the 6th chapter. Sukham atyantikam yaddat. Sukham is bliss. Atyantikam is limitless. He uses the term. So that of course, that's hearing those kind of things is what drives you to be persistent in meditation because what you're going to be. I mean, eventually arrive at is much more superior than where you're at, right? Just like Jeffrey said when he is not in good mood or something, I've noticed like To give an example, like in my case, I sort of in the stock market and all that, and my portfolio goes down huge, and I've got really depressed because it's gone down like 30% or whatever. I'm holding my head up and all. But then that evening when I go into meditation, all that goes away, and during the time you are in meditation, all those worries are still there, but not during the time of meditation. So what it convinces me is there is something inside me which is not dependent on those kind of things, which is uh, like pretty solid, and it is still, and it's like still meaning like it's peaceful, and it's also joyful because all those miseries you don't experience during the meditation, and then you feel like you had a good time. You come out. Of course, all those worries are going to come back as soon as you come out. That's not going to go away. But during that time, you're time boxing it.
Yes.
And you know that because of that, that there is something within you that is not dependent on all these things.
One thing that I read recently that I really liked that I think is relevant here, one of my favorite writers on these topics is Aldous Huxley, who was deeply involved in Vedanta. And he says many of us are spiritually amphibious. So it's as if part of your mind is functioning on that level where you're looking at the stock market and thinking about that. And then there's this other part that is in the spiritual realm. And for most of us at the stage of evolution that we're at, we're going back and forth between the two. We're amphibious, right?
Exactly.
We're on the land part of the time, and part of the time we're in the water.
Brilliant analogy. Right, brilliant analogy. Actually, it's funny. Swami Paramatmananda was a great speaker from the Chimya tradition and in Chennai, and a lot of people follow him in the US and all. I have a friend in Portland who has been following for 20, 30 years. She uses this joke that some people are spiritual in the morning and spiritual in the evening.
Yes.
What it means is, I mean, both are like what I put meditation is not equal to meditation. Both are spiritual, but the first one spiritual is uppercase S.
Yes.
The second one spiritual is lowercase S. One is the bar in the pub, and the other is
Yes.
the real spiritual, right? I mean, it's funny, but it's true, right? Some are spiritual in the morning and some are spiritual in the evening. They're not spiritual all through.
That's right. That's right. And
Anyway.
it's really interesting too. Like and I look at some of the East Asian tradition, like again, Taoism and Zen, sometimes they'll use these very down to earth images, like drunkenness, for example. And you even see that in India too. They talk about like divine madness and so on. But it's a way to try to describe this state that's really totally other from any of our conventional experiences. But it's universal too. It's something I think we all touch at some times. And some have been fortunate to learn how to cultivate it systematically through meditation.
Well, do you think that a lot of people might stop meditation or not continue it on as a practice if they get too frustrated, because they judge it too much? Like I've kind of read where we have a tendency maybe to judge that, oh, this is a bad meditation and not to do that. I don't know if that's something you've come across or not.
Oh, I don't know about you, Sundar. I know I have. I've had people be very resistant to doing meditation, and maybe because they did not. I don't know what experience they had, but they for whatever reason didn't find it within themselves to stick with it. The funniest one was my late uncle, who he would be stressed about various things, and he asked me actually about meditation because he knew I practiced meditation. He saw that I was generally pretty relaxed, so he asked me, about it. So I gave him a very brief instruction of the kind I give my students, and then about a month later, we spoke again, and he said, "Oh, I tried that meditation. It didn't work." And I said, "Well, how long did you do it?" And what I meant was not. I was thinking in terms of like how many days or weeks did he said 10 minutes. And I said, well, but I thought he meant maybe 10 minutes a day. So I went, well, yeah, but for how many days? He said, no, 10 minutes. That was, they tried once for 10 minutes. It didn't do what he wanted it to do. And I think we're also very attached to instant results in our society.
Exactly. Yeah.
And meditation, this is something I've learned from my own experience that I also share with my students. You can really compare it to physical training. Like I say, you're not going to get on the treadmill once and lose 30 pounds, right? You have to do this like every day and dedicate yourself to it and build it into your routine. And also, it is a question of prioritizing and making, building it into your schedule. Because the other funny conversation I had once with his was with a student who said, "Oh, I'd like to meditate, but I feel like I should be studying instead." And I said to him, "Well, do you bathe?" And he was kind of shocked by the question. He said, "Well, of course." I said, "How long does it take you to bathe?" He said, 15, 20 minutes. And I said, "That's about how long it takes to meditate." So, if when you're bathing, do you ever think, "Oh, I should be studying instead?" When you're eating lunch, do you think, "Oh, I should be studying instead?" But with meditation, oh no. Like this is what you were saying, Sundar, about realizing that it is worthwhile. But people weigh it against something else and they decide, no, this is not worthwhile.
Yeah, and that happens, Jeffrey, really, looking back about what happened with me, is being associated with, in this case, a yogi of the highest order, but in general with satsang and all, where you hear the alternate. When everybody preaches that all the worldly stuff is great, you need to have somebody counter that, saying that, no, this is also important, right?
Yes.
That's why being associated with Vedanta Society and, doing the basic things, going to by the way, in Sacramento, they have a very nice um, Mission Avenue Ramakrishna Mission Center, pretty big.
Yes. Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah,
that's extremely important. Yeah, to be around other people who are serious about this. And well, again, if we compare it to a physical routine, if someone's trying to lose weight or something, it does help to have a team or a buddy system, other people who are also doing the same thing, because we encourage each other. Then I think my wife and I do that for each other, where every day we say, "Okay, did you meditate? Did you meditate?" We often meditate together, but sometimes our schedules don't allow it. But we make sure. Did you meditate? Did you meditate? So I think that satsang, the good company is very, very important. And as you said, I mean, once you meet a realized sage, and I think that this is what's happened for me too. All you can think is after that is, well, I want to be like that. I
yeah,
want that. I want what he has. So then that makes it all worthwhile, because it's like, well, this is what I need to do to have that.
yeah. By the way, I just want to ask, there is a fourth person here, V's iPad. Is that like a mission? They are not they're not on the
It's
camera.
quiet all through here. Yeah, V, are you with us?
Is that you? Me?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, you wanna, how do you, yeah, we're here. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah, thank you. We just curious who you were.
Sorry, what's your name, sir?
Yeah, hi, Sundar Uncle. It's Ashok and my dad.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, these are my friends from by Roseville, by the way, Sacramento.
Very good, very good. And if you enjoy these sessions like this, and if you'd like to be on our email list, you can send your email to Sundar. He can send it to me, and I'll put you on the list. Then you'll know whenever we're having a meeting like this.
Yeah,
This
we
is
will
the
do. Sure.
kind of conversations we have.
Oh, okay. So, by the way, for benefit of we, let me see if I can bring up something I did. Um, oh, yeah. So, I'm sorry, Jeffrey, it's going to be a really poor graphic. I used AI to generate, but if it's okay with you, I'm going to share your little life story of the how you got to Vedanta in a quick slide. Is it okay? I'll show
Sure.
you. This is extracted from your video, and
From my video. Oh, okay.
yeah, that YouTube video that you had. I don't know what's happening to my technically challenged here. Once again, I'll just bring it up, and then um, I want to share this. Oh, here it is. If I share, can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, okay, here, so this goes back to my other technology piece. So what I do is, this is something I can hold a full class on, is if you take a YouTube, right, and you
Mm-hmm.
take it to Gemini and ask it to summarize, will do that, right? And then you say, I want a infographic or I want a visual of it, it'll create. So this is not Dr. Long, obviously, it's a different picture, but just bear with me. So this is the story though, from the video. So early life, he was raised as a Catholic in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
From that video, by the way, that 12-minute video. And then at the age of 12, he had a personal tragedy. I don't want to get into a lot of details if Dr. Jeffrey is not comfortable.
I'm happy.
Then, He found a 50-cent Gita in a flea market.
Yes. Yep.
And then the message of the immortal soul, that's a very significant thing you state about the second chapter of the Gita and how when Krishna says the soul never dies and it takes on a new form and it is like changing shirts or, whatever,
Yep.
clothes. So that really struck to Dr. Jeffrey. And then he found peace in the Gita. And that's when he came up with this analogy of Gita being like so advanced, it's like from a different planet.
Yes.
Sorry, I mean, uh, but it says here, right? Gemini generated image. So that's another thing, Dr. Jeffrey, is I can talk about this aspect and this small thing here, notebook LM, probably for half an hour to an hour, because
Hmm.
I think anybody who is doing any kind of research these days, you have to start using Gemini and Notebook LM. Even though you may say you hate AI, yeah, it makes a lot of mistakes, it messes up things, but these two are amazingly good. Notebook LM especially is fantastic for note taking, for audio overviews, for video overviews, and quiz, flashcards, and all that. But anyway, we are digressing. But that's
I really like the AI summaries that Zoom creates too. If that's activated for you, you'll get to really quite a good breakdown of the whole conversation.
yes, I do it at work, by the way.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I like it. But I had a funny experience with that though. I had a Zoom meeting recently with a colleague. He and I are working together on a translation, actually, of a very old Jain text.
Uh-huh.
And so we meet regularly on Zoom. And recently we had scheduled a meeting, and he had some construction going on in his house. He forgot our meeting, so I got onto the meeting, and then nothing. He wasn't there for a while, and so then I got the AI summary. As Jeffrey logged on, uh, Jeffrey coughed and closed the meeting. It gave me, and I forwarded that to my friend. I sent that to him. Yeah,
Oh, really funny. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But no, but it gives a very good breakdown of like a serious complex meeting. It really does a good job of breaking it down into paragraphs. And if you're the secretary of an organization and you're meeting on Zoom, you don't have to write anything down. You just let it do it for you. You have to
Yeah.
check
And by
it
the way,
over, but
Ashok on the call, he is like me, work for the state of California. And that's something I've been meticulous about with my staff that, please start using that kind of a thing. And they don't even know that. So they think I'm doing magic. Oh, they said, Sundar, you got some really great AI abilities. I said, it's nothing. It's just,
yeah, it's a really quite easy. Yeah.
yeah.
So did you see that? I think when Swami Sarvapriyananda was giving his lecture, I think it was one of the recent Bhagavad Gita lectures, and he was speaking about using AI, and he was getting a translation. I can't remember what the translation was for, but it was kind of comical the way he talked about how AI was giving him wrong information, and finally
Yeah.
he decided just to do the translation himself because it was incorrect and it was
Yeah, yeah,
grabbing.
that's true. I mean, there's a lot of flack about AI too. It's not all hunky dory, but there's also good stuff, right?
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Well, I
absolutely.
mentioned Aldous Huxley a little while ago. I experiment with AI now and then. So I asked, Aldous Huxley is on the cover of the Beatles album, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. He's in that big crowd of people they have behind them, of people who've inspired them. So I just asked the AI, where is Aldous Huxley located on the album cover? And the AI replied in that very confident tone that it has, that he was not, in fact, on the album cover. And then it even went even further and said that they had considered him for inclusion and then decided against it. Well, he's the third person from the left on the second row from the top on the album cover. I know that. So I told my students, don't rely on it as a substitute for research. But for something like what you're doing, Sundar, I mean, if you want to take something that you have that you know is reliable, and you want to put it in some kind of format or some kind of very appealing way, I think it's a neat tool. I've enjoyed working with it.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed all your slides and the way you put everything together. It's very nice.
Excellent. Yeah.
With the recording, I'll be able to go through it a little, again. So that's the nice thing about that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, while we are talking, right? I'll show you something here. I didn't want Jeffrey's. Let me see here. I can. Here it is. So I was editing it. Now I got your picture there.
Oh, there I am. Yeah.
I will correct it. Yeah, that's all from Gemini, but I replaced the sort of a made up picture with your real picture.
That's good.
And that when you are all talking, right? So that's one
right.
thing. The other thing I want to share, this is a good one, is so I told you I used Notebook LM for some of the work. And you can see here, I'm creating my video. These are all what they call faceless videos, meaning it's all AI videos. But what is interesting is all these things, Spanish, I don't speak. This is, I think, Bengali, I don't speak. Telugu, I don't speak. Hindi, I don't speak. Tamil is the only one I speak. So English and Tamil, obviously, but these ones I don't speak. AI generate the same videos for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, Spanish, right?
All those different languages.
Yeah.
Hoy vamos a explorar una metáfora.
I have no idea.
Bastante sorprendente. Viene del autor Sundar Rajan y se atreve a
It
plantear.
even mentions my name.
Sundar Raja, yeah, I heard that there. Yeah.
It's funny, but anyway, so I'm experimenting with this and creating this, things in website. By the way, Jeffrey, I know it's not for the entire group, but I'm looking for a publisher. So if you know of anybody, I'm interested. I've got about 10 chapters sort of outlined. I want to get this whole thing into a book format.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So if you know of anybody, let me know.
Okay, I have to think about that, but like I'd want to send you, to someone who would do well with it. Yeah, I have to give that some thought. But sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay, this is the gist of it. I don't want to, belabor on it. It's already 4:45. Normally, how long is your meetings run for?
They can vary enormously. In fact, we were talking so much and going for such long periods of time that I think when we did our last one, I put a deadline on it. I think we met I think for 90 minutes last time. And that seemed to work pretty well. So, but there's no hard and fast rule. There's a kind of a natural flow of the conversation.
I had one question, if I may, if we have time.
Yeah, sure.
It's with regards to Arjuna, when he was saying that he's having a hard time meditating, and did Krishna encourage him more to follow his Dharma, like his warrior, he was a warrior, rather than to do karmic action, like rather than meditate, or was
here is where I'll tell you honestly what I do. I actually go to Gemini. Seriously, this is what I would do. Is I will actually ask this question: what did Krishna? I'm telling you seriously, this is what I would ask Arjuna when he expressed when Arjuna complained about not being able to meditate. I don't know, this is not like I don't know, I don't want to put it as a flippant kind of thing, but you have tools, and if you go deep research, it will cite like 40 sources, but we won't go there. We'll just ask a general question.
Curious to see what it says. I know what I think, but let's see what it...
Yeah, it's very interesting. But I do take it very seriously, by the way. I do consider it. So it says, this is the famous verse, the one we quoted, right? Sanchala Vimana Krishna, the wind analogy.
Yes.
Response, he says the struggle is real, right? And then he says these two things, abhyasa, practice, and detachment, vairagya. It's a famous thing. Abhyasa and Vairagya are the two like the wheels of whatever, right?
Mhm.
So here is the summary from the AI. Don't expect the mind to be quiet instantly. It'll wander like the wind. Your job is to keep bringing it back and stop emotionally engaging with the thoughts that distract you. So, I mean, will you go with it 100%? No, but I would. It's pretty good actually. In a lot of times, it's good. Actually, if you go deep research, it shows the thinking what it did, but you can also go deep research and it'll go and cite like 40 sources.
What I would say, Patricia, is that, yeah, I think that in terms of the specific question Arjun asked about meditation, this is precisely, I think I agree completely with what's been generated here. More broadly speaking, I understood you to be saying, well, is he recommending meditation, or is he recommending karma yoga, or is he recommending something? I see the Gita elaborating on all the four yogas. So this is Raja Yoga, right? This is meditation.
No, this is no Dhyana Yoga.
Or
No,
yeah,
yeah, Raja Yoga, yeah.
which
Yeah,
also
right,
is
right,
called
right.
Raja Yoga. Yeah, Dhyana Yoga, what you find in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, and which also is in the Gita, chapter 6 and also chapter 7. Um, but Krishna is also talking at various points about Jnana Yoga, wisdom. He's talking about Bhakti Yoga. At the end of the Gita, in fact, he says to Arjuna, give up all dharmas and take refuge in me. And a lot of people interpret that to refer to Bhakti Yoga. I don't think it's that narrow. I think it essentially means that whichever of these methods you follow, um, that the divine be that it's kind of like what Sundar was saying about the self-driving analogy, that divine reality kind of takes over, and if we don't see ourselves as the doers of action, but rather let action happen through us, through the divine, then we're, I think, on the path. And then there are the specific manifestations of that as the yogas. But in terms of dhyana, in terms of meditation, yeah, it's he gives very concrete advice as described here. Like, that's my interpretation, at least, of the Gita. There are a lot of interpretations because you have people from bhakti schools of thought, and they want to say, well, it's really all about bhakti. You have big, jnana yogis. You say, well, it's really all about jnana, but they're all there. And it's also something that confuses people sometimes is that whenever Krishna is speaking of any one of these yogas, he says, this is the supreme yoga. And then after you read it, like, well, which one is the supreme yoga? They're all of them, they're all there, because ultimately there's one yoga, right? There's what links you back to the divine.
Yeah, and in those cases, a lot of times we'll see it in, if Jeffrey, if you have more talks along this line, you'll see that one of the key things that is mentioned is uh, it is dependent on the competence of the person, and the guru is the one who decides it, right?
Yes.
So if three people front up to the same guru, and for one he may teach meditation, the other one he says don't even go there,
Right.
do this instead. How does he know? Because the guru is a yogic guru, like in the case, you can see it classic in the case of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and in the case of Vivekananda, and also in the case of Paramahamsa Yogananda. He had
Yes.
this intuition about when somebody shows up where they are at spiritually, almost instantaneously.
Yes. And he could actually look in your eyes and do something transformative through his own yogic influence. He was looking very intently at one of his followers once, and she said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I am rewiring your brain." He said, "Very interesting." They have these abilities to really,
Yeah, same with Ramana Maharshi, by the way.
yeah, oh
Uh,
yeah,
he used to stare at, we used to stare like with nothing in focus, but then sometimes he would do so with somebody and they will experience samadhi and all that.
yes, yes.
Okay,
These are
that's
very
wonderful.
powerful
Thank you
experiences.
to both of you, actually, both um, sides of the explanations were really good, really helpful.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for the chance. And hopefully, in some other time, I don't want to hog this satsang for myself, but I have other material that I can come back and present later on.
Well, I'm grateful to you because honestly, thinking that I had to do it myself was becoming a bit of pressure. And so I'm grateful to you, and I'm hoping other people will follow your lead too. We have various people in our community who could give very valuable talks like what you've given, And so we'd hope to hear from you again, and hope to hear from Patricia. If you want to give a talk sometime, you're very welcome to.
It will be filled with questions.
Well, and in fact, that could be, it could even be not so much a presentation, but maybe like leading a conversation and say, I'd like us to talk about these questions, and we pool our resources and share with one another.
Sure.
So I think that's an idea, wonderful idea. And yeah, we have some other people who are very scholarly in our group, and it would be great to bring them out a little more and have them lead some of these discussions.
Wonderful.
Thank
Nice
you
to meet
all.
you, Sundar. Nice
Thank
to
you,
meet you.
Sundar.
Nice presentation.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Patricia, great to see you again. Sundar, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And Vish and Ashok, thank you for coming.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good to meet you virtually, Ashok.
Yes, likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can sign off, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Okay, see you then.
End meeting for all. Yeah. Okay. Good night.
Good night.